Well, greetings everybody, and welcome once more to a new edition, a sparkling brand new edition for the new year, in fact, of the Inworld Review. Yes, it's our first show of the new year, so let's call it the show for January 20. What's it? Almost made a mistake there. 2019. Yes, indeed. Um, it's a new year, of course. The last time we were live for this show, I think we were probably talking about the Open Sim Community Festival or something similar at the end of last year, anyway. And that event heralded quite a few new things, which I guess now we're in the new year, it's the right time to be sort of investigating. Um, I haven't got any actual other shows planned, but during the course of the next few weeks, hopefully we're going to take a look at the news from the Open Simulator Community Conference, where Manny Milland dumped some a code base for what's actually the Unreal Engine, though I already know that's changed. To develop a new OpenSim viewer, so we'll be having one show focusing on that with Krista and others. We're also in the beginning of April will be the this year's Virtual World's Best Practices in Education conference. So we'll be obviously having a preview of that. And also this week, earlier this week on Thursday, I didn't make it, but a kind of successor to our old Hypergrid Safari started up. It's 1 p.m. Pacific time every Thursday. They meet on the Metropolis grid, and ugh, I have already forgot the name of the region. Oh, Future Lab. That's it. The Dome in Future Lab. That's where they meet, and they'll be going every week. A bit like Safari did to visit arts and shopping and various places that you might want to go to. So that's all good too. And hopefully I'll get Art Blue and Juliet's Real Dreaming and all the. There seem to be about 5 others involved in putting all that together and try and get them on for a show too. But that's all in the bright distant future, or not so distant future. Right now, we're here today, and we've got a handful of people here. I'm glad to say for today's sort of topic, and that is. I guess it's in some ways, we'll talk about it in a second, a successor to the Open Sim Fest that Handheld was doing until last year. And it's a new festival. It's happening on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd of March this year. And it's simply called Open Sim Fest. And I'll introduce you to the folks we've got here quickly who are going to be talking about it. First, we have his name tag says Festival Admin today, but in reality, of course, it's Bill Blight, who is running the dedicated server where the festival is held and doing all the sort of, I guess you could call the techie business. So welcome, Bill.
Thanks, Mal.
We're also joined by Leighton Marsharam, who sort of talked a little bit about this on the panel I held at that OSCC conference, but we'll get more today. Leighton is handling things like the exhibits and that side of the festival. So welcome, Leighton.
Thanks, Mal.
And finally, last but not least, of course, we have Cataplexia Numbers, who is basically the person responsible for booking all the performers and acts and stuff that will be happening over the course of the event. So welcome, Cataplexia.
Thank you. Very nice to be back on your show.
Yes. What did I call you last time? Was it just Cat?
Or Cat.
Did I... Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I'm lazy when it comes to complexia numbers.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Complexia names. There you go. That's a nice twist.
Cat is just fine. Thank you.
Cat the complexia. Right. Okay, we've also stuck a great big sign on the stage here, which obviously reminds you of the dates. But as you can see, it says 25 hours of live music already booked, 45 exhibitors already booked, 1 community already booked. And yeah, so all is good there. That sounds like a pretty big lot of stuff, and presumably more to come, because we got over a month yet before the real thing actually happens. Also on the seats here, of course, is my uh, trustworthy ally in the broadcasting here. He's operating all our cameras, and but he speaks up from time to time too. So welcome to James Out Loud, please.
Oh, thanks, Mallory. Having a great time. Just as long as I figure out which buttons to push.
Yeah, I know, but the more the merrier, I say
That's
for
right.
the people, and the more the merrier for the buttons. Every button you push does something different, and if it's a disaster, then it's just an unusual experiment.
We just
as they
move
say.
on. We just move on.
Yes, we just move on. Indeed, we do. Right. Okay. So down to subjects, as it were. Of the three of you, whose idea, if anyone of you initially had the idea for this festival? I mean, I know you've said before that it's a spiritual successor to Handheld's thing. Where did the spark for this come from? Just the empty hole in the events, or what?
I'm going to let
Jay,
Leighton. I'm going to let Leighton field that one. It kind of
Okay.
came up at the same time, but it was really his inspiration.
Yeah, I'd taken part in Avatar Fest quite a few times, and just really loved the whole idea of the community coming together and showing our creativity and the performers that are out here, because OpenSim is quite a distributed network, so there's lots of little communities, but they very rarely pass each other. And I really liked the idea of bringing them together and watching the builds, and it was just amazing. And as soon as I kind of heard that Handheld and Erin wanted to move on, I was like, I've got to get in there. I just feel like I've got to have it. And then I asked Bill and Kat to join me to organise it, and as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah, spots flew, as they say. Right. So now I noticed you've done something that I think is very wise with these things. I know on my Discord channel, for example, or I say mine, it's the Hypergroup one. Many grids now have their own Discord channels and groups and things like that. But I created something I wanted to be. It needed to be hypergrid. It didn't want to be I've got a Metal World server as well, but it didn't want it. I didn't want it to be branded because I wanted to have that flavor of the whole wide hypergrid. And I noticed wisely, and of course Handheld's event did this too. You've got I'll refer to you here, Bill, really. You've got regions. Is it 9 regions or is it a 3x3 VAR?
Yeah, it's a 3x3 VAR that the
Right.
main expo region is on. So, and it does run on its own dedicated server. It doesn't. Fest runs on its own server. It doesn't share with anybody else.
Yeah, that's the thing I was saying is wise in my opinion, not just because of the weight of sharing servers and stuff like that, but the fact that it presents itself as independent. Was not tied to any given grid. I mean, when we did the International Hypergrid Expo, we set up something like that, and unfortunately, our host made such a mess of everything at the last minute. We had to go to Graph Grid. And we were always, nothing. They served us wonderfully, I have to say. But there was always this underlying thing of it's Craft Grid presents the expo rather than the standalone international expo, which was the first of experiment of its kind. But having a dedicated grid is great too. And also there's this rather quirky thing we noticed. This is the first time I've actually I guess it's because you use port 80 or something, you can actually hypergrid over there without worrying about the port number and everything.
Yeah, that's true, and that throws a lot of people off. Everybody's pretty indoctrinated to having to have a port number, and we just wanted to be able to have a nice, clean URL on marketing material.
Yeah. Well, no, I must admit, because my way of doing these things is figure out where I'm going and then type it into the map, and you type in the location. And I'm so used to putting : port number, : region that when there's no colons or anything, I think, we're only halfway there, aren't we? But no, it does work, as you say, very, very, very kind of smoothly. James and I actually popped over there at the end of our news program this time last week, and of course we saw you there, Bill. I don't think there's anybody else there at the time. and had to float around. I completely missed the thing in the sky. I couldn't find where I was meant to, what to click on to get up there, but I was carrying around all over the place there. And it's a bit like this grid here. This is a 5x5 bar, but sort of when you're up in the air looking at the whole thing, you think, oh, well, that's just a sort of little square island, isn't it? But when you actually get down on the ground, you realise that you are actually in a very vast fairground, as it were. How is it? I mean, I have actually roughly seen this anyway, but I'll refer to you again here, Bill. Before we look at the exhibitions, how have you sort of laid it out? Presumably, is that central area going to be mostly performance, or are those sort of they're like Grecian sort of round builds? Are those the stages?
Yeah, we have the central area, which is basically just the landing and the social gathering area where people can just hang around and chat. Then up in the sky, which you missed, the giant jet engine teleporter that's right there by the landing, takes you up to the Sky Club, which is where the performers will be. But the music will be parcel wide, so people will be able to hear it down on the ground too. But we're going to put the performers up on the stage in the sky. The little round Grecian looking pavilions, those are our spoken word or symposium areas where people that are giving talks or things like that, they can use those. They have seating for people, and then they have the individual plots and stuff that are surrounding the whole area. And then we have the lagoon where people can hang around and float around on a pontoon boat, and just we want people, even when there's not something going on, maybe to hang out between events or whatever, so we wanted to provide some things and areas for people to hang out and do things when there's not anything specific going on.
Yeah. And with the number of exhibitors you've got, that shouldn't be too hard either. How has that been going, Leighton? I gather your brief is in being in charge of all those. Has it been easy to find exhibitors? Are they kind of pouring in, or are there particular kinds of things that are coming into exhibit, like arts or shopping, or is there any kind of theme to it all that you're noticing there, or guiding?
Yeah, it's been kind of slow and steady, and because it's kind of like the first year, we weren't entirely sure. Because we went behind the scenes, we didn't kind of know how it went. So it's very kind of, we're learning as we go. And most of the people seem to have signed up when we do promo material. So we get kind of emails and stuff just after we kind of do press releases and stuff like that. But we've got kind of two strategies: the kind of the general call, everyone come and have a give it a try, and then kind of more specific, approaching people that I know did previous festivals as a personal invite. So we're doing well, actually. I think 28 isn't bad, considering we only started advertising at the end of last year. So it's quite a good response.
Yeah,
it's good to see. There's a lot of Utopia Sky people are over there building some incredible stuff. Tana Wells is there. Virginia Radek is there. It's good to see.
People. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm not forgetting you, Cataplex Hill, Cat. We'll have a look at who's actually going to be there performing and stuff in a bit. But meanwhile, I've got James already has a camera set on it. I've got a board at the side of the stage here, which you can see when you're facing the stage in camera, with a variety of pictures we've taken there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start loading those pictures. And we'll kind of talk a little about what we're looking at and stuff as we go along. The first picture, and indeed the one after, are ones I took from Hypergrid Business, and then the ones that follow, that's the ones that you have given me. This, I guess, from what I saw last week, this picture is still fairly accurate to the central area, isn't it? I'll leave it to Leighton, Bill, or whoever wants to talk over this.
Bill built all that, so he would probably be the best one to talk about it.
Yeah, that pretty much hasn't changed much. since put it together. We do have. You'll notice you can't see one of them because they're transparent. Around the central landing.
Right.
So each one of those, has the plot numbers on it, and you can click the individual plots, and it will teleport you to those plots. There's also a button on the main teleporters that'll give you a HUD for the region that you can use to teleport to the individual plots back to the center or up to the Sky Club.
Right. The one I missed. But it's actually very easy to miss things that are staring me in the face when I'm in camera looking at 9 regions.
You probably didn't get close enough to it to see the float next.
Yeah. Now this, I'm going to move to the next one now, which again is on Hypergood Business. But of course, this actually is a picture of your actual stand advertising the fair back at the Open Simulator conference, isn't it? So it's sort of kind of your display model.
Yeah, that was the booth we put in at OSCC, and we kind of wanted to, it's kind of the go big or go home kind of thing. We wanted to have big and flashy and get attention, and so.
I think it's this easy, Nat.
Yeah, I think it's a little eye catching.
Yeah, I remember popping over in there and wandering around at some point as out during a gap in the otherwise busy activities. So it's, it stood out a mile actually. So good little build. Okay, well let's moving on to number 3. This is one of the ones you give me today. These are some shots of the build as it is now, I guess.
Right. It's
yeah.
The plots are filling up. If there's not a number on a plot, even if there's nobody building on it yet, those are plots that have been taken by people.
Right.
And of course, you'll notice I don't know if you can see it in one of the pictures, but there's a big red square meaning reserved on plot 1. We've got that reserved for a special guest. So,
right.
but
yes, of course you have. Yes, number 1. Yes, yeah.
So,
we won't say anything about that, will we? So it still says number 1 at the moment, probably.
But yeah, so the plots are starting to fill up, and it's starting to really come together.
Wonderful. Right, let's move on. Let's move on to the next. You get a really good view there. Then actually, the kind of region borders you see there, right? Just to give you an idea of the scale. I mean, you're probably looking the 2 sides visible against the ocean are probably about 1.5 standard regions in length, because as we said, the whole area is 3 by 3, although it's actually a 1.
That's correct. The small parcels are each 32 square meters, and the large parcels along the top side are 54.
Yeah,
that kind of gives you an idea.
Yeah, I noticed when I'm doing camera and things, if you choose the sort of far middle bit, we can see on this picture, camming over there live, sort of you go closer and closer, and you actually you end up going quite close before you're really aware of the size and the actual amount of space there is there, because it is such a large expanse. Anyway, moving on to the next one. Similar in some ways, but different angle basically this. And actually we've got more of the region in, haven't we? We've got almost all 9 regions there, or 9 bits. Anything of note there you want to mention?
It's just another angle of the sim, and we're you can see that we've got the small parcels down each side, and then we've got, and I think my voice is cutting out a little bit, so give me a second. I'm going to adjust my mic a little bit, so I'm going to let Leighton take this while I go adjust my mic.
Okay, Leighton, you're on the spot. Anything of interest in this picture, as it were?
No, not really. It's just to kind of show the space that we wanted to give the exhibits, really, that we wanted to kind of have a kind of a walk through. And it's, as you said, it's not until you actually get to ground level and start to walk around that you realize just how big it is. And when we first put the region together, we were like, this might be a little bit too big. But then as people have started to build it, the eye lines are just incredible. The builds that are there already are just looking incredible.
Yeah, I think almost there's no such thing as too big. I mean, I guess you probably came to the HIE thing we did in Craft World last year.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether you did, but again, it was it was actually 4 separate regions, you know. But it's we had these mesh mountains around the whole thing, so the actual the visual land expanse was more like 16. I think it was. What's yeah, about 4. Yeah, exactly. Simply, it was just a single prim of prim mountains that was surrounding the central 4, and of course, it meant that the fairgrounds were just 4 regions, but the visually on the ground, the expanse, and the mountains enclosing it gave the impression of your being in a much more vaster kind of place. Okay, let's move to the next one and see what we got here. Do we have Bill back yet, or is it up to? Everything's in the distance in this one a bit, isn't it?
I think I'm.
You are back, Bill, but actually your voice seems to be breaking up.
I think that's our. I think that looks like our boating lake.
Right.
Yeah. I think that is. That's where they've got boats and stuff that people can.
So if you're
drive around
in between looking at exhibits and things, you can take or you can drive across the grid to another exhibit, depending on what you want to do. Okay, well, it's a nice picture anyway. Let's move on to this one. This certainly looks more detailed and interesting. What is it? It's, I mean, I can see the sort of circular sphere, which looks like it's tilted on the ground, or
that is where speakers and voice performers will be. People who are doing spoken word voice.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's
performances.
A little better.
Storytelling, right. Poetry, spoken word. Yes.
Great. And the bit in the middle there, I guess, is I'm zooming. Oh yes, I see it now a bit clearer. It's like a lectern kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay, well that looks very nice and colourful too. And that's it. It's an example of one of those circular Grecian type builds, as we mentioned earlier. Another long shot here. You're very fond of the logo in the sky, aren't you? I guess people won't have any problem remembering where they are while they're walking around. What's that tower in the middle of this one? We got something that looks like
that's
focal point.
One of our builders, one of our exhibitors. Right. I think that's plot 9, I think.
I think that's the Metaverse Writers, if I recall correctly.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So that like the tower hereinafter referred to as plot 9. Sounds rather good. Okay, moving on. Can't be rude there. Now we've got a big close up again. We're back in the central region. It's still waiting for me this, but looks like we're back in the central region. Oh yes, lots more textures there.
So you see the engine turbine that's in the middle of the image.
Right. Yeah.
If you click
that's the teleporter to the sky.
Oh, I see. So as you say, staring in my face, I just couldn't see it. Yeah. And I like the print on your umbrellas too. you've got the
branding. It's all about the branding.
Yeah, the interesting thing is some of the branding looks different in different places. Like that really looks like a texture of cloth or something sewn into the umbrellas, which is obviously what an umbrella would look like. But it's sort of a all very colourful too. I see what you mean about going loud. It's
well, if anything you do, if it doesn't succeed, you definitely want to make it so it's not forgotten.
That's what we're looking at it. Oh, well, it was an abject failure, but you won't forget it. No, I don't think I'm predicting anything there. I think it's all
no failures.
Yeah, no such thing as a failure. It's called an experiment. You see,
Yes.
If all else goes wrong, it was an interesting experiment. Right, I'm sure it won't. Don't worry. Now, if I did click on that thing in the middle there, we actually go to what I think is the last slide, which is the thing in the sky or in outer
That is
space.
the stage. That's the club.
Yeah. Now this is
Yeah.
outer space, really. How many meters up is this? It must be outside the cloud.
That's up 3K, but it's actually surrounded by a skybox to give a little different look.
Oh, right. I did one of those. So you got like a space. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had a region which was a box with space texture inside it, and it was a whole sim plus a whole sim in height, and then a whole sim in roof, and you got completely lost trying to find the planet that took you back to the land. Very funny. Right, so that's it. That's the stage. So it's kind of just like a circular sort of thing. Where
The Sky
the
Club.
Oh, I see. So the far bit away from us, above where it says Open Sim Fest, that's like a seating area or
That's
standing
the
area, or is that the
stage.
stage?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
that's
see.
Dance
And
floor,
then
yes.
Yeah,
I
that's
see
the
it where
the stage and the dance floor. Yeah, exactly.
right, and the dance floor is where people just stand and watch rather than So okay, so I was looking for an audience seating, but there isn't any.
We actually have an area for anything that's going to require seating down on the main
Yeah.
ground. We have our forum area and the 2 small symposiums that have seating for avatars.
Sure. Now, when people click the button, as it were, and zoom up there, I presume they land at the end points of this protruding bit, and they follow the arrows to walk in. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's correct. You can
Yeah.
actually see my little tiny avatar standing at the landing there if you look real close.
Oh, yes, I can. It's not clear enough to. I thought it was. I thought it was like the button on a wind-up toy. Think about it.
The key.
It
Well,
looks,
I
it looks,
I
it looks
do-
like a. It looks
I
like
do
a
get
handle
wound
for a
up.
clock.
I do get wound up occasionally. So
I think it looks like a giant banjo from space.
I
Oh,
guess it
right,
could-
the whole thing.
I
Yep.
guess it could be anything, but from a distance, I thought it's like the key where you wind up a clockwork toy. Just twist. And love it, love it.
Is the
Okay.
is the dance? Is it a dance ball or a dance floor? Do you have animations for dancing?
Yes.
the phoenix rotating in the center of the dance floor is
Okay.
actually the dance ball.
Okay, good.
Oh, so right, you just press on the floor and you get your menu.
Or the
Yeah.
Phoenix.
The one that's hovering above the dance floor. You'll see it when you get there.
I have
if
no
you can find the
dances.
teleporter mount.
Oh, sorry. Actually, I can see the one hovering above too. Right. No, I thought you'd actually put the menu into the floor so people clicked on the floor to get the menu, but no, I can see it now. Yeah.
The Sky Club will be used for a total of 3 days, beginning
Right.
with the beginning of the festival and throughout the weekend. There will be live DJs and live performers, a nice blended mix of both, and some very talented people will be performing there.
Right. Well, since that's the last slide, that's exactly what I was going to come to. I was going to come back to you, and maybe I presume there might be a few people performing that you can tell us about already. It's not totally
Oh,
secret,
sure.
or- yeah.
Sure. Bill is not only our admin, he is also a DJ, and so am I. We'll be both be performing on the first day, along with DJ Rosa Elesquive, DJ Kara Whitehawk and Kith Whitehawk, who are excellent blues DJs. DJ
nice.
Shellen Ayers, also known as Lisa Laxton. And then the next day, we have a few open slots and a lot of filled ones. Joachim Gustav, who's an excellent singer girl mode. If you've ever heard her, she's just amazing.
I've heard her many times.
Yeah. DJ Marceli Mercy, she's from Brazil. Beautiful music she plays. Liberty Bell Lyric, who played at the conference. And I just loved her, and I asked her right there if she would join us, and she did. I'm so happy. Chris Mooney Singh is a poet who is Australian born, and he does these amazing soundscape backdrops to his poetry, and he's been published all over the place. He is, I believe he's in Indonesia. I have to check on
I know
that.
he's. Yeah, he's on my friends list somewhere because I'm very familiar with his RL photo.
He's just an amazing poet. Wow. So he's going to be doing a really interesting performance there. And then we have Natalia Constantine. She won the best voice in SL. She's really, really amazing. She'll just blow you away. Ernest Moncrief is a live singer. He's really good. We have DJ Phoenix Renfold, DJ Snick Snoodle. Most people don't know them as DJs, but they are, and they're very good.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard Snick Snoodle DJ.
Oh, she likes to do some real naughty stuff, which we really can't have there, but
nobody's looking.
she'll tone it down.
Fair enough.
And DJ Rocky Constantine, and is going to be closing off with DJ Bill Blight again, and I think there's going to be fireworks at the closing ceremony, which will be just incredible. Nice way to close it, up in the sky there, you know.
Rosa Askeef, isn't it? I think she's just everywhere.
Yes,
she spams all the channels, you know, with the same advert for the same gigs. But the thing that's remarkable is she seems to be on different grids a lot. But she's also out in Science Space, and I think she might even have done High Fidelity. She's really, you know, a metaverse creature.
Another Brazilian. She's another Brazilian DJ. There are two of them in this, and they're just really, both of them are wonderful.
Yeah. Great, and hopefully more to come. Now, have you, in terms of, you know, we've got a month to go before more than a month before the event. In terms of outreach now, you know, think of our viewers and stuff like that, so the word gets around. How, you know, well, obviously you're not waiting for unlimited contributions, but yeah, I presume you still have space for performers, especially I would think musicians and stuff who.
Oh yes, I have about 6 to 8 slots left.
Right.
So if you're interested in performing, DJs or live performers, please look me up. You can email me at cataplexia@gmail.com, or you can do cataplexia@opensimfest.com. Either way, I'll get your mail, and I'll be happy to fill up those slots with some interesting other people that come along. So please do send me a notice that you're interested.
Have you considered? I mean, I know a lot of that is DJ, and I suppose it depends on type of music. I remember, performance side of OCC was really a bit of a non-event. It's actually also I was asleep when it happened. So, I know with HIE and things, we sort of were thinking. We had a performance back whenever it happened. Cherry Manga from Fanco Grid did this amazing sort of particle performance where stuff was, you know, spreading out over all the 4 regions and on the ground, in the sky, and everything else like that. And she was talking over it about particle magic and things. And both Cesar Ember and I, who were, you know, organising that at the time, say, you know what we should have done? We should have held this back and actually paired her with, you know, one of the keyboard performers, you know, that does the ambient or, you know, space music kind of thing, you know, because you know the 2 together would have been far greater than the 2 individually. You know, have you had thoughts like that at all about that? You mentioned fireworks, but you know the idea of
Well, actually, one of the spoken word performers, I've actually done musical backdrops for him, so I'm hoping to sign him on and sort of collaborate with him. Chris Mooney Singh he does layers and layers of musical soundscapes to go with his poetry. So that's so far is all we have as far as spoken word performances. If anybody else out there is interested, please do contact us.
When you say it's multi-layered soundscapes to go with his poetry, I presume this is audio only. In the word soundscape, it's
Yes.
or does
Yeah.
it doesn't include interactive visuals with the sound and
Right.
what I used to call multimedia back in the
It's audio.
60s.
Yes, it's audio soundscapes.
Yeah.
And then what you see visually is him standing and reading his poetry, which is
Maybe you
just
should
really great stuff.
You should probably approach. Don't know where you approach people. Just wait for them to come to you. But somebody like Cherry Mango, who do, and even Art Blue.
I actually did speak with Cherry Manga briefly at the conference, and she was interested in doing something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. What she had in mind, but she's very, very welcome to do anything, either audio or visually, or building connected to this. Everything Cherry does is just pretty amazing.
It's sort of a superstar Franco grid there.
Yes.
If not the whole hypergrid. Yeah, and there's also Art Blue, who I think is on Franco Grid too. So it's actually a bit behind this Grid Hoppers new group started. But Juliet's Surreal Dreaming, and I forget the name of there's a wonderful Venus Adored does
yes
the light show.
It's like this whole gang of traveling artists that travel together and do amazing things. It's like just a bundle of creation. And,
rolling off.
Sure, I have Juliet on my friends list, and Cherry Manga. I can sort of nudge them a little bit.
I bet they're probably the sort of people that need nudges. They say, "Oh, I'd love to do it," and then forget. Unless
they probably have a million projects going.
Oh yes, for sure.
I've approached Cherry, and hopefully she will be having an exhibit there because I'm a bit of a fanboy of all things Cherry.
Yes,
and I want to try and get hold of Art Blue because I would like the Hypergrid Hoppers to be there. Because I think that would be nice to have them represented there as
if you let me know offline or whatever if you need to get in touch with them and haven't, I should be able to get hold of both of those for you. I think
Art Blue definitely. I don't have any contact deals for him.
Right. Okay. I've got plenty. I think you might even be in our Discord server, but yeah, I've got. I keep getting pings.
I'll give you a landmark to his studio.
That's the.
You click on anything and friend him. Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we move on, I think we have lined up. This is a cue for James here. A video clip that we loaded earlier. It's actually one you put up on YouTube, and it's it's been up a few weeks now, I think. So I don't know how up to date it is. It's a little promotional video you did for the fest. So I think we'll all stay quiet for a minute or two while James runs that, and he'll let us know when we're done. So are you ready for that, James?
I'm all set. Let's cue it up, and here we go.
Okay, let it roll, as they say. Oh, right. Right, okay, so we're just seeing the pictures, are we? Yeah, well, we can't see it, but I guess I'll keep monologuing. It's quite short if I remember rightly, so basically, if I recall, it's sort of a collection of scenes of, obviously the film we've seen is still photos, but not quite as developed as it is now. But good advertising nonetheless, and I guess you filmed that, didn't you, Leighton? So I presume you probably do a bit more of an updated one as the region fills up a bit and you've got more to show off.
Yeah, they'll do a final promo in the week running up to it, but that was very much a kind of.
Okay, thank you, James. It's done. He says, "Yeah, that's what we've got the backfire, isn't it? No audio. Never mind. It was the pitch. It's the moving pictures that count.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice promo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very well filmed, Leighton.
Hmm.
Actually, very nice. You've been doing quite a lot of machinery in the last year or so. Nice, sort of good. What I
Okay,
call
I'm
good
using.
quality filming.
I used Hit Film 4
Oh
to
yes,
make
no,
it,
yeah,
which I'm very much enjoying exploring.
yeah. You you also don't do the unforgivable thing that so many people do and annoys me to hell, and that is they show their interface. TV and film is TV and film, and I always say that keeping your interface showing while you're filming is like going on stage with your flies undone. It's just not on. you know, it's a different medium, but if you're showing the interface and chats and stuff, but that's a separate argument. Right now, talking on film and stuff like that, I did mention to you before before we went on air here whether you were broadcasting any of it or had aspirations that way.
Yeah, and
You're
then
going to
we
get an
asked you,
answer.
are you going to be there?
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, yes, well, you can take this as a sign from me that, I mean, particularly if we got the events like spoken word and arts and things that, make, anything visual as well that makes for good imaging, to televise the session, so to speak. The talking heads or the eye candy, unfortunately, there's not much mileage in, no offense to Bill, but filming DJ sets. God, you see these things coming out of Second Life like 80 films a day, of avatars dancing and some DJ playing, and you think how much can you take? But when it comes to the particle things and visual arts things and and the spoken word, it's great to it's like this show really. I mean, it's talking heads, but people can put it on, and if they don't want to watch a boring avatars, they just walk away and listen to it like radio. Whereas if they do want to watch, they can watch too. So kill two birds with one stone, so to speak.
Right.
So yes, if you want me
I was going to say exactly, Mal. That's why we wanted to give you parcel one there on the region for Meta World Broadcasting. And the other thing that just to let people know that during our spoken word symposiums, or if there are talks or things like that, it's one way, but all the chat on those parcels, we have a relay, will automatically be relayed to the live event Discord channel. So
Oh
any
yes.
any text chat in World will also appear in our live event Discord channel. So people, they can't really respond, but they can follow along if for some reason they can't actually be on the region.
Yeah, there used to be I mean, but I tested that out, by the way. I just said hello to myself a few times, but I just checked it was going through to Discord. But yeah, back in the day, we had I think it was called ChatBridge. It was a system we used in Second Life. I forget the name
I
of the
remember
guy
that.
who. Yeah, and that was quite useful because it linked regions together. And there was a show we did there called Metanomics, and I was one of the partners, as it were. There was a main scene where the stage was, right, where the in crowd crowded in. Um, but the voice was relayed by the TV channel to other regions. Sorry, the whole event was, including the voice. But the text chat in the main region was simultaneously linked to the other viewing regions. So if you were viewing in a remote region, you could participate in the chat, and what you typed appeared in every single region that was connected to the main region. So it extended the text chat to literally hundreds of people. It did mean it was very hard to read sometimes because sort of 20 or 30 people on 20 or 30 different sims all typing at once. So you can imagine it wasn't the easiest of things to follow, but in principle, it sort of made that work. So I guess it's a shame in a way that there's no way this bot, for example, can take the text from Discord and insert it into Inworld chat. I presume it's just a one-way system, is it? I guess that's a Bill question. Oh, have I lost Bill? Is he muted? Hello. Oh.
Come
Lost
back.
Bill.
Come back.
I was just going to say, is anybody else there? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I've never seen it go the other way.
Go
But
the
Bill
other
would know.
way.
Bill is up on all that stuff.
Yes,
I
yeah,
think it is a
exactly.
He's
one-way
Mr. Gizmo.
relay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as you said, it's a good way for people to, if they can't be at the event, they can, check on Discord to see what the conversation's about at least. And,
Yeah, 'cause as
for anything we can send up to YouTube, film-wise, then they can watch it on YouTube too.
I
Which of
think
course
our
is the way.
music, the music from the regions will be streamed to a music channel on the Avatar on the OpenSimFest server. But I
Right.
think it's mainly, I'm looking for volunteers because obviously on the day, me, Kat, and Bill are going to be running around like headless
Yes.
chickens trying to work
That's
out what's happening
exactly
and
the
making.
phrase. That's exactly
Oh
the phrase
yes,
I was
I would
about to
love to
use.
have some hosts up at up
I'd
where
love
the
to kind
music
of
is
do.
playing.
I'd love to do a call for volunteers so that, if you like
Right.
filming, then come along and we can, arrange something. Or if you like social media, then, volunteer some time to, post some stuff to social media. So we're kind of looking for volunteers to do that thing, and if we can help them kind of get sorted, and that's cool,
Yes.
because we're just as it's the first year, we're not entirely sure what the time demands are going to be like, and 25 hours of music over 3 days.
Assume that the three of you won't have time for anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And then book help accordingly.
All you club hosts out there, we could use you to greet people who come for the music, and I would love to have you join us. It's a great crew. It's a great bunch of people entertaining, a great bunch of builders, and it is all for this community, the OpenSim community. Up there went Bill. I guess.
Yep.
He crashed.
He's got a new
If he
PC, so it's been a little late.
pity he hasn't got a partner called Ben. I think you might get that, Leighton.
I'm a flower
Bill,
pot man.
Bill and Ben, the flower pot men or the pop-up men. Pop in, pop out.
Maybe you asked
Yeah.
Bill the one question he couldn't answer, and he ran away.
I have a feeling he'll be back, or he'll try and get
He'll
back.
be back,
And I will
yes.
have to TP him in again. I'll look out for him. Right now, I mean, I was fairly clear when we started that the three of you are behind all this. You've got your own sort of fixed areas. Leighton, exhibits. Kat, you're doing the performers, and Bill, the sort of the land, the server side sort of stuff. Having done similar things myself with HIE and OCC, 3 seems a very short. And no wonder you need volunteers, because 3 is a very slimmed down thing. Although I got to admit, HIE worked really smoothly. I think because it was just me and Thurza. We just found it's very easy to pair up, and she did some things, I was doing other things, and it all came together. But on the day you do need volunteers and things. And for example, if people start volunteering, I mean, which one of you would they be best to contact, or should they go with the themes that obviously, if they want to volunteer to be a compare or introduce people,
Any of us.
that would you, but you can't, wouldn't it? Right, any of us. Right, okay.
Yeah.
So
We'll forward all info.
but we all have opensimfest.org email addresses. So Leighton, Bill, and
Right.
Cataplexia, we all have those email addresses. So that's probably the best way. Or drop by the region and give us a holler, or it's.
Or if you're on Discord, find us on Discord.
I was just saying that you actually have a dedicated OpenSimFest server on Discord too, which actually I must admit I've got a question for you about that. My Discord interface is ridiculous. I have to skin it into multiple columns for the number of servers I appear to be on. They won't fit in the one column anymore. But I did notice that whenever I click on notifications and you've got Fest visitors, I get a thing saying I'm unable to read past history on this server or something. it tends to
Yeah.
show me what's posted, and other channels are just fine. I was just wondering.
We
It's probably
have tags. So the
right.
admin have tags, and we can see all the channels. If you're an exhibitor, you'll have an exhibitor tag, so you can see the exhibitor channel, and I think the general tab. So it's kind of just to kind of cut down the noise, so that people know exactly where they need to go and what they can
Okay.
read and what they can't.
Yeah. Okay. Oddly enough, I don't think I've got a single Discord server that stops you reading anything. So I thought that's a bit weird, but yeah, fair enough. Or
Welcome back,
I
Bill.
wondered if it was maybe waiting for people to register and you didn't get access until you'd registered or something like that. But, yeah. And I see you put an embed for this very show on the Discord server too, which is more than I ever did. I post the replays, not the live one. Right, welcome back, Bill. Are you there? Right. Well, his avatar is here. I don't know whether his voice is.
I think I'm
You
here
might
now.
have.
Oh yes,
Oh, I
yes
hear
you are.
Yep.
Yeah. Welcome back then.
I got
Okay.
a new PC, and I just haven't got everything tweaked in yet. And it was evidently a Windows update that decided to reboot my computer.
Oh,
Oh,
goodness.
absolutely. Yes.
Oh, the
Windows.
best.
That's evil.
There is no way. I've found that there's no way of putting a Windows update off now, because if you do, it hangs in there and it uses up half your RAM waiting to update. So your performance on your computer slows down until you actually do the update.
Yes,
But
that's so true.
it won't sit there in the background, sort of waiting for a couple of months. It will deliberately
Yeah,
stop
it's
you getting
evil.
anything done. Yeah, the evil empire. Or
Yep.
one of them. One of them. There's the F1
Okay,
and there's the M1.
I fixed Discord so you can read the message history and the Fest visitors now.
Oh, very, very good. So you were listening to all that. Right. Yes, I find Discord is one of the most useful tools around, and as a replacement for Skype as well. It's just, I understand how people are reluctant to change. They've got Skype and they've got LLC, and they don't want to change, but you have to at some point. And the way things like Skype are deteriorating these days. Well, no comment.
I love Discord. I'm a big fan of it. I love the UI, the simplicity of it. It seems to be lighter on the system.
It is, yeah, and the voice quality is a lot better too, oddly enough. I think a lot of people who don't like it actually feel it's complex when it isn't. Separating the friends and the top bit, the Skype style bit, and then the idea of these multiple servers and your own servers underneath. It's Skype with knobs on, but it also works, unlike Skype. So, I think we're biased.
I think you have to take a hierarchical view with it, don't you? So you go from server to channel to message.
Yeah,
I really
exactly.
like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just got so many layers in it, and I don't know about you, but it's running. I've got another instance of it running on this machine behind me while I'm in Second Life, and it actually shows Discord chat overlaid in Second Life, like not in Second Life. Sorry, OpenSim's chat window. It's a pop up, but I can see who's connected to me on Discord, and I can see the little round profile of you in my top left corner, even
I
while
think
I'm actually.
the overlay is really good in Discord. It's the best one I've seen. Slack's isn't that great.
No, I like Slack, but I just use it for private, organization really. So, okay. Let's get back to our event. I'm trying to think if there's anything I haven't covered yet. Our contact points, and of course we're on there. So, your Discord channel is quite naturally just called OpenSim Fest. The website. Now, this is interesting. The website is OpenSimFest.net, is that right? Whereas the login
.org.
Oh, .org, right. So if you want to find out on the web, that's where you go. Whereas if you want to go and visit the grid, your hypergrid address and the grid login are opensimfest.com. And as we said at the beginning, you don't actually need a port number. If you want to type in :80, you can. I gather, and it still works, but you don't need one. And I know this is a curious question, actually. I mean, I can understand that. I think you told me, don't you, that the basically if there's no port number, it defaults to port 80. Is that right?
Yes,
So
just like a web address. If you don't
yeah,
put a port on a, you can specify a port on a web address for web servers that are running on alternate ports, but if you don't
yeah,
put one, it assumes port 80. And
right.
oddly enough, because hypergrid addresses are basically just fancy web addresses, it does the same
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, my login here, for
So
example, this one's just a private sandbox and TV studio, really. But you know, the port number here is 8002. That's the way I set it up. It is if you go for the 4-figure port number, then does port 80, which is the first two numbers, still work, or does the fact you're going for a specific number require it has all four numbers?
I'm
No,
not
but
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
well, if I typed in MetaWorld port 8002, which is the way you get here, that's fine. But if I actually just typed in port 80 or left the port off, would it default to 80 and therefore catch the 80 and then the O2 as well? Or
No,
would it,
no,
it has to be
no.
specific? It has
It
to be
has
the
to
whole range of 80.
anything other than 80 has to be explicit.
Right. So if you have port 80 open, you've basically got 8001 to 8999 all open at once, haven't you?
No, I
No,
think
no.
you have to
No?
bind OpenSIM to that specific port, if I
Right.
remember rightly, Bill.
To the two numbers 80.
Right.
Okay.
It's in the Open Simulator config where you can choose your port for your grid, and 8002 is just the default, but you can change that. That's not set in stone.
So I could change it to 80 and then it will work like yours, I think. I get it.
You
Yeah.
you
I
could
should
you
know
could,
better.
as long as nothing else is running on port 80.
It is running on that port. Yeah. I should know better than to ask questions that are beyond my scope to fiddle with. Don't want to touch anything.
That's how we get email.
I have
Gotta ask
heard
questions.
Fredericks jump into my computer on Christmas Eve a year ago. Not the one just past, the one before. He was in there for hours configuring my computer, and it's played nice ever since. So I'm not going to touch it. I will ask the question sometimes. It's like you know, when I was a young man, I think it's the first time I ever popped over the channel from Britain here to France, you know, and I was lost, and I went up to a gendarme and in carefully practiced French, you know. I asked the way to where I wanted to go, and it didn't occur to me that I wasn't going to understand the answer. Sometimes when it comes to net technology, that feeling comes back all over again. You know, why did I ask that question? Right. Okay. So email Leighton Marjoram or Festadmin or Cataplexian numbers at opensimfest.com. That's the mail address. And you go to opensimfest.org if you want to see the website and the links thereof.
Actually, as far as the email go, you can send email to either .org or .com. It'll get to
Because
us.
it gets to you anyway.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that's good to know. And if you do have Discord, just feel free to look for. I forget how you actually. People actually send you so many invites on Discord. Basically, just search for OpenSim, one word, and then Fest, just the FEST, and hopefully you will find the.
Actually, we set up a URL forwarder. If in your web browser you just put discord.opensimfest.org, it'll
Yeah.
redirect you. It'll redirect you to our server invite for our server.
Okay. Well, I would recommend that too for anybody because it's a very good way. I mean, it's quicker than email if people are monitoring the service and things. You just put in a channel, say, help, you know, I want to volunteer for this, and hopefully Cataplexia or Leighton or indeed Bill is there to respond and say, yay! And
Yes, we want more.
set you up. And of course, I've got to get off my ass at some point and get over and discover plot one. Yes. Well, I would imagine something I did, which might be useful. It was necessary at the Hypergrid International Expo because we have 4 half days, and they were in like Italian, French, German, and Spanish. So I had a program a bit like this in the hour lunch break, where we actually came on in English and tried our best to tell everybody in English what had been going on and what was coming up. I don't think we'll have the translation problem with you, but I mean that might be a sort of thing to have a sort of outdoor broadcast booth on the plot that we can have people come in and just talk about what they're doing and things as the event goes by. What is the thirst? Is that Friday, Saturday, Sunday? I presume it is, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So it's sort of non-work. And the actual hours, I forgot to ask you about this. Now, Leighton, of course, like me, is in the UK, but the grid, obviously, I presume, is in Pacific time. Is it kind of open continuously, or is the focus of, say, the performances and stuff? Are they on American time, or are they international time, or
They're all on grid time.
so they're all
So
all
they
on
kind of
Pacific time, really?
cover. I think the first 2 or 3 maybe EU friendly times, and then it gets a little bit late. So I'm going to be going to bed. I think the last performer on the second day, I think, is 8 a.m. in the UK. I think so.
Oh, right.
I did,
Yeah,
I did put a list of the performer times in the Discord chat, so if you want to refer to those later, you can look at
Okay,
those.
sure. Yeah, even at OCC, where I was, geared to keep long hours, sort of by 1 o'clock in the UK morning, That's why I didn't see the music at OCC. It was just, I don't know, it's 3 or 4 in the morning here, and even I couldn't cope with that. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame, but yeah, there's also some overlap. I guess that's good. I have the feeling people in virtual worlds tend to keep rather late hours anyway. So if it's a weekend, you know, people can hang around that bit later than normal. Um, right, okay. Well, I think we've covered everything directly to do with the event. So yeah, I wish you luck and everything else, and I'll be popping along to check out number one and what's going on there. But sorry, were you about to say anything?
Before we go, I would like
Yeah.
to say that next Saturday at 3 p.m. grid time, we would
Yeah.
like to run a load test on the
Oh,
region.
wonderful. Right.
So we're just inviting everybody to bombard the region and come over and visit and look around and see if we can't, maybe if we get enough people to convince me to DJ for a while, and we'll have some music and we'll dance and we'll hang out. But we want to do a load test next Saturday at 3 p.m.
I discovered recently, well, mostly due to high fidelity, to be honest. If you want to do a load test, make it an event and give away prizes. Because suddenly, instead of getting tens of people, you suddenly start piling in the hundreds. I don't know what it is. People think they can get a prize. Oh yeah, I'll come to a load test. But no, it's always a very good. It's always a very good thing to do, actually. For any event that's going to be of any size, just to check that you.
Tell them they can be on load test the video.
Yes, load test the video. Smile at the camera, please. Right, yeah, that's definitely good. So that's next Saturday at. Did you say morning? Although that's US time.
3 p.m.
3 p.m. grid time.
3 p.m. grid time, right? So in
Yes.
Europe, that is. Oh yeah, it's not too bad. I think it's 11 p.m. in Europe. Yeah, which could be worse. All right. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't quite got round to wrapping up because it's something I always like to do with guests on this show. I mean, we often sort of drift into all sorts of conversations and things at random. But since you're all here as part of the fest, I was just wondering that if individually, any of you have got anything else to promote or would like to talk about while you're here, kind of thing. So maybe I'll start with Bill again. I know, for example, you've got other Discord servers, and in fact, you've got a grid of your own too. Open Sim World, is it not?
OpenSim.life is my
Life,
grid,
sorry. Yeah.
but you know, to be honest, I really I don't want to talk myself up. I don't want to talk about the grid because OpenSim Fest is completely separate. My
Oh, sure.
grid, other
Yeah.
other than me being the server monkey and taking care of the technical aspect, OpenSim Fest is completely separate from any grid's influence, and we just want to
Yeah.
make sure that that stays completely separate, and it is a standalone entity, and we just want to do
Yeah.
it for the community. It has no influence on what anything else I'm doing, but
Yeah.
I would be lying if I said some of the inspiration did not come from the fact that my grid's motto is social, not stuff. It's about
Yeah.
the social gathering and the social aspect. So which is
Yeah.
one of the reasons I was really inspired to help Leighton with this project, because I really
Sure.
enjoy the community getting together and supporting each other, leaning on each other, and showing what we can do.
Bill's not as grumpy as he makes you think.
I'm thinking the greater picture. I mean, for example, I'm one of these people who's connected to everything on across 3 computers
Yeah.
virtually all day long. And I know, for example, Bill. I mean, forget independent grid and everything. I know I see you chatting quite often here in IRC with the OpenSim dev team and stuff like that. So I know it's not just your grid and the festival. You are wide ranging. So that was really an invite. Not to mix things up, but just to comment on anything else that was current that you might have wanted to. For example,
I'm
we're wondering.
Ubit's guinea pig. If you really want to talk about that, any of the new stuff for OpenSim, I get to break it first. So I tend to try to test and help things out as far as that. I mean, we do run a slightly modified version of the OpenSim code on Fest, and so far everybody's been pretty happy with the way it performs.
Yeah, it certainly seemed that way last week when we came. Well, although there was only 2 of us. Yeah. Any I don't know how much interest you took in the when at the OpenSync conference we had Melanie's Unreal code, which is now being turned into, is it Ginkgo code or something? And
Zinco.
Also Zinco, and Krista has been doing masses of work and commits on the new viewer side, and it's tailed off in the last week or 2. But I guess she's back on university term time. But I just wonder if you had any. Had you been involved in any of the
I'm actually intentionally staying out of that.
Right.
For one, it's just something that I'm really not interested in reinventing the wheel, to be honest. I think I think it's going to. I think it's a great thing. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great thing, but I think it's going to be hard pressed to get adoption just simply because the OpenSim user base, as much as I love and hate it, we're so tied to the way the OpenSim viewers work, and the people that use OpenSim are so tied to the way the OpenSim and Second Life viewers work.
Yeah.
If we change that too much, if we change that experience too much, then the geeks, people like me, are going to love the new viewer, but the casual users are just not going to. They're just not going to get. They're not going to get on board as much as we would like them to. And I hate to say that, but to put it another way, it's not going to have the warm, fuzzy feeling of that old, comfortable viewer.
Well, what people are used to, it's like people keep using Skype because they're so used to it and they don't want to change. So they don't want to change, even if it's better. But I don't know. I mean, I was very concerned, and I think when I was talking to Chris about this when it started, the important thing is the idea is you use this new stuff to be the architect of a new viewer, but we're not talking about changing OpenSim itself in any way. The OpenSim platform, the hypergrid, still has to work with old viewers as well. So, the idea is that there'd be some modern, more powerful variation just in the way people choose Firestorm or Alchemy. Maybe they would choose this other new one. The fact it would be authored in a different way and maybe look a bit different in the interface, I think. But anyway, people have mixed views on that, and it seems to have created some excitement. So we'll see what happens. Okay, moving on now. Leighton, for example, I know I talked to you at the conference. You've got the Out and Proud grid of your own, but you also are running a destinations site as separately, aren't you? Where you're sort of taking photos and reporting on different destinations you visit, and passing the passing the message on, so to speak.
Yeah, that's what my exhibit's going to be. I'm going to have the Out and Proud grid and Hypergrid Traveller in two halves, a game of two halves on my plot. So that'll be exciting. Yeah, as far as kind of announcements, we've got a couple of announcements for exhibitors. I wanted to kind of do a drop-in where people, if they're interested in being an exhibitor or a contributor or an exhibitor, performer or volunteer, that we'll hold a couple of events on Tuesdays, the next couple of Tuesdays at 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. on the OpenSim Fest grid. So people can drop in, ask questions if they've got any questions about taking part. And yeah, so yeah.
That's an interesting point. I should ask: is there a message leaving box kind of thing there anywhere? Because I forgot we forgot to mention. I think that the actual festival region is already open. It's not being kept closed until the event. People can actually drop in and look around, can't they?
Yeah.
So can they leave messages in a box or a note card in a box, kind of thing, anywhere there?
If you go over to the Fest region and then type Control F to open search, and then enter either our names, Cataplaxia, Bill's, or my name, and then that should and then open our profile and send us an IM.
Oh right, okay, do it that way.
Because we get offline IMs to our emails, so
yeah. I keep forgetting you can do it that way. I'm so used to people that res those boxes, where you type something on a note card, then you drag the note card into the box, and somebody will be around to pick it up one day.
They could always drop a note card into our profiles.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually quite a lot of ways you can do it when you need to.
Offline IM to email is my go-to feature. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I get all mine off that way. It gets a bit cluttered sometimes, but it's usually okay. So Cataplexia, what are you up to, or anything else going on other than, I'm sure at the moment, almost 100% on this, but you are doing other stuff too, aren't you?
I just built a new region called Mythos, which I like to incorporate teaching into my builds wherever I can. So I all of the statues of all of the mythological beings and creatures have educational note cards you can click on and find out about that deity or that creature. It's kind of a cool place. Fantasy and myth and legend. Kind of a place. Yeah. And
by the way, is Bill one of your subjects there?
No, but he would make a
good one, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Yes.
A mythological creature named Bill Blight. Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, Bill. You have the look about you there.
A lot of my focus has been
mission accomplished
on this this region, but now that it's done, a lot more of my focus is going into Open Sim Fest, and I'm going to be sending out promotional material for it. And I do want to take a moment to thank the people who have already signed up to entertain and to build and to volunteer. Thank you so much. Please feel free to bring friends along to show what you're doing there and to encourage them to join us as well. This is for all of the Open Sim community, and it's just going to be a really wonderful thing to be a part of.
I'll second that, Kat.
I'm sure it certainly sounds like it, and no mistaking the anticipated size and breadth of what it's going to encompass. Okay, well, I guess we are kind of nearing the end of things. It's always nice to get a bit of extra chat in there. I'd like to quickly turn to James, who's largely silent because he's pressing camera buttons. But anything in this conversation that catches your ears, so to speak, James, or any questions you might have for the gang?
The thing I'd been noticing about the build is it looked to me like the lighting I thought was really thought about, especially on the terrace with the umbrellas, and so I just have enjoyed the build of the area so much, and I think it's going to be real interestingly conducive to a lot of interaction between avatars, which should be really fun. I had another question for Leighton about the kiosk here, and I see there are 3 little tabs off to the right, and are those do those click for new windows or something?
You click them. The top one will take you to the website. The middle one will give you some info note cards, and the bottom one is a landmark.
And the okay.
So we're going to put them out on sandboxes, and if people want a copy of it to put out on their region to kind of advertise, then give me a shout and I can drop one off. Or
yes, shouting.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, thanks.
Right.
I'm going to put it everywhere.
Right. Yes, we'll. I'll keep this up on the background here until it's all over. In fact, I may copy one over to. There is a landing area here, but not. It's a private grid, so not many people come. But I will probably put it there just in case.
Yep.
And spread it around. If people drop into your grid, is there a copyable one of those people can just pick up and copy and take to put in their own place? Is it ready there waiting for them?
Certainly is.
Right. Okay. So if you want your own copy to advertise it with, just go to opensim.com, no port number, and grab the sign for yourself.
OpenSimFest.com, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, opensimfest.com, no port number. Yeah. Okay, I love that idea, no port number. I mean, it would take a long while. Well, not everybody's going to set their grid to port 80. But,
well, technically speaking,
the idea.
Well, OS, technically we're not really unique because OS Grid technically runs on port 80. They run on hg.osgrid.org port 80. You don't have to put that :80 on there. It's just everybody's in the habit of doing it.
Yeah,
it's the same way that a web URL works. You don't explicitly put the port 80, but that's the port it's actually run.
Yeah. It's only important if you use anything other than port 80, basically. Yep. Yeah, fair enough. Complex stuff, that is. Okay, so that was it for you, James. That was all your comment? Yeah?
Yep.
All right. Yep, exactly. Okay, well, while we're still all conscious and haven't fallen asleep or fainted from the stress of this heavy conversation, we might as well call it a wrap. So I'd like to thank everybody here. Thank you to James Out Loud as ever, also for multitasking on all the camera buttons. So thank you, James.
Oh, sure, Mal. I enjoyed a lot.
And thank you to my special guests, all of them this week involved in OpenSim Fest. Cataplexia Numbers, thank you, Kat.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Fest admin, otherwise known as Bill. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, Felicia. And Leighton Marshall. Thank you, Leighton.
Thank you very much for having us, Mal, and good to see you, James.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, well, we're going to go to wrap at that. And this is the first time in 2019 I've been able to do my my exit line. The trouble is, can I remember what it is? Yes, I think I can. I'm wishing you all a very good morning, a very good evening. Very good morning, a very good afternoon, a very good evening, or a good tomorrow, depending on wherever and whenever you are. And we'll see you soon. Bye for now. Bravo. Good.